What up, Blackberries? Welcome to the most exciting episode. I'm biased of the season. This is episode 8, and this is our mental health episode. And so, as you can see, our normal lineup of BlaQberry View hosts are not with us today, but we have some phenomenal guests in on their place to be able to talk about this topic of mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so this is a very crucial topic, one that is near and dear to my heart. And so with that being said, I will allow our guests to introduce themselves, and then we will jump right into our daily squeeze. So we will start to the right of me.
Hey, y'all. My name is Trent McGee. I go by the pronouns he, him, his, and I'm just so excited to talk about this topic.
Thank you, Trent. My beautiful sister.
My name is Helena Collins, and I am a licensed professional counselor, a group owner practice in Southlake, as well as a nationally certified counselor.
We love nationally certified. And last but not least, my little brother.
Hi, my name is Devontae Johnson. I serve as a higher education advisor for Dallas ISD, and I'm just glad to be here.
Well, y'all already know I am not going to be the focal point because we have some amazingly beautiful Black folks here. So the only reason that you should focus on me is when I am popcorning it over to our amazing guests. So let's start with the daily squeeze. And so, y'all, in the media here recently, there have been a lot of concerns with celebrities and how their behavior has manifested in public spaces. Wendy Williams, Will Smith, the baby, up here jumping folks in bowling alleys. And so I would love to hear from you all about what your perceptions are, what your thoughts are about just the weight of celebrity on mental health. I think that within our own rights, as folks in our lives may look at us as those celebrities of the family, you know how with Black folks, oh, this Trent gonna be the one to save the family, child. And that pressure is applied on us. And so I can only imagine how much is exacerbated with them. So I just wanna hear y'all's thoughts on the spin of celebrity and also how that affects us locally within the community. So whoever wants to start.
I'll start. You sure? Okay. So I think kind of just piggybacking off of what you said, I think in society there is this expectation that celebrities have to live up to. And the problem is expectations have to be agreed upon for them to work. And so I think these celebrities are coming in and they're saying, we're just normal people, we're just living our lives, but there's an expectation that you should move accordingly, you should move differently by society. And so I think there's this pressure. So when Will Smith went up and slapped him, I don't think he was looking at it from the lens of the expectation that society has on me. I think he was looking at it genuinely from a Black culture. If you are disrespected in public, you handle the situation accordingly. When his wife looked at him and gave him that sign, like, I know you lying, it was like, right? It was like, okay, what's up? So then at that point, he had to take the next steps, the next action, which would be whichever decision he made, which was to slap him. I mean, I feel like a slap was better than a punch. But, you know, so that's my perspective.
Okay.
I think also, too, people look up to him so much, especially children. Growing up, this music, being in the media field, it's just like, oh my God, he really did it. They were so shocked about it. So when I seen, I was like, this is nothing new. We do this in our own culture, in our own house. So exactly. So this is not really nothing. So when I saw that, I said, oh, child, they overreacting. This is the media. But to see him do it, I was like, wow, he took up for his wife. You know, someone that really been there for him throughout the years. And I was just like, wow, he really slapped him. But I thought something was going to happen afterwards. And I was just like, well, it's going to be a WWE match between those two. But overall, from the bigger picture, I think what it is like, as Zach mentioned, and that also what she mentioned as well, too, is that making sure that we need to know these are really people, human people. These actions are really happening. These things are really happening in life. So don't hold them accountable. We're human. You know, it's real life situations that we actually go to on a day-to-day basis. But as you mentioned, like, society's pitching as this picture perfect person and saying like, okay, wow, this is like, they do that too. Yes, you are human overall.
And his son responded like, this is what we do.
Yes.
So it was just kind of like, even he knew.
Yeah, I mean, at first, when it first happened, I agreed with Will. But after, you know, kind of commentating and talking it over with friends and everything like that, there's a time and a place for everything, you know? And you know, with having a spotlight, Will been in the industry for I don't know how long. So you know how to govern yourself accordingly. So my perspective changed a little bit after.
I think he's fully embarrassed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's fully embarrassed.
So I would like to pivot into, let's localize it a little bit. Let's talk about, again, that being celebrities in our own right in our families and how that pressure is applied. You know, I know from what I know of our panelists, and I know them pretty well, we are all college graduates, graduated a few times. And so being those individuals who the family looks to as being like that salvation, that savior. And I don't think we talk about that enough in the Black community on how much pressure that applies. And so I'd love to get you all's thoughts about your own experiences of being that celebrity in your family, and if that has applied any mental health constraints on you all.
It's challenging for me because I'm most definitely the celebrity of the family. So many people look to me to do great things because I've graduated with and got this degree, or I've done this and I dabbled in that. So it's almost like I got the weight of the world on my shoulders. If I mess up, my family messes up. It's kind of the pressure that I have. So I constantly stress and don't want to get things wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I beat myself up.
You're a Black man with that
Yes.
weight as well, which when people look at that, that's a whole nother thing.
I think also too, the last name that you carry. If people look at it from perspective, oh wow, this person, oh he's associated with this individual, you know, he ain't gonna be nothing because his daddy wasn't nothing, his mama wasn't nothing. Those things are really precious. So it's up to you as a Black male or a Black child to making sure that, okay, this is happening and whatnot, and making sure that, oh wow, damn, I have so much pressure. I have to do everything. I got to complete these degrees. I got to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to, just in my household, but also in the society as well too, because they already, you know, I'm a double minority as well too.
But I also think there's the idea of imposter syndrome, right?
Yes.
It's the idea that you want to show up as your full self, but sometimes you don't feel adequate enough to show up as your full self, right? Because you show up in these workplaces where they are predominantly one race, and then you look and you say, okay, I'm probably not should be in this room, but then your degrees suggest you're in the room, the resume suggests you should be in the room. However, you yourself don't believe you should be in the room. And I think that goes along with how it is in our households and our families as the token kid or as the collegiate athlete or different things like that. There's this expectation that you should have it all together. And if you drop the ball, what were you thinking? But it's the idea that I'm human. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that I'm allowed to make mistakes. I was thinking that, you know, anybody can do it. So I think imposter syndrome is huge when it comes to family households. I know me, myself, I'm the most successful just out of my immediate family. And there's the pressure of financials, right? Well, she make enough, she can give. You make enough, you know.
They
And
said
I'm not trying to be
Terry
mean.
was the villain on Soul Food, and she wasn't.
And she wasn't. Terry was just paid.
Exactly. And she was taking
So
care of
there's that.
everybody, financially.
Yeah. So I think about it from the perspective of the pressure of not only being everything that you all said, the breadwinner out of the siblings and the cousins, and the having the name, or my mama telling us when we were growing up, you my child. You not finna do that. You my child. And so I live with also the added pressure of, you know, being the identical twin. And the competition that has existed between my brother and I, not imposed by ourselves, but imposed by our family, in saying, well, your brother's doing this, why aren't you doing this? And it would happen vice versa. I tell people all the time, looking back, one of the only reasons I pursued a terminal degree, a doctorate, was because my brother said he was going to do it. And I said, he's not going to outdo me. And we have talked about this many years later, but again, there's that pressure of being able to achieve in ways that the family allows you to finally get that approval of saying, all right, you've made it. You know, you are the person that we assigned you to be in our heads when you were born, even though they didn't make that status themselves.
But favoritism is also a very real thing in households. Parents, you know, pick a kid and treat them differently than they do the other one. And I don't always think it's intentional, but I do think that it's something that, you know, you have to be more cognizant of,
Right.
so that the competition is not a thing.
Right. So that was some robust discussion. I appreciate you all's thoughts on that. And I think that as we unpack this concept more over the course of this episode, there are going to be some other layers, BlaQberries, that we uncover. So when you finish watching the video, please drop in the comments, hit us up on our Instagram, on the BlaQberry View, and let us know your mental health concerns when it came down to being the celebrity in your family, or what that looked like for you, because we would be interested to hear what your perspectives were. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not a psychic, I'm not Professor X, shout out to the X-Men, but I'm pretty sure that there will be more than just 4 of us up here with those concerns to share. So, all right, well, we will be right back, and our next segment will be What's the Juice? So come on back, BlaQberries. Oh, welcome back, BlaQberries. So now we are getting to the meat, or I should say the juice of our conversation with what's the juice? And so, as you have probably picked up along the way of the conversation, the juice of today's BlaQberry View episode is mental health. As I stated earlier, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yesterday and day before yesterday, I had the opportunity to have amazing conversations with folks leading up to this episode, so they are excited, so y'all better be watching. But I really want to dive into the meat of our topic. And Devontae, I want to start with you. So, mental health in relationships. When we talk about relationships with people, and it could be romantic relationships, it could be friendship relationships, but let's talk about mental health and being in a relationship with someone and how that is played out in your life.
So, the heart and the mind work together. So when you love somebody, it takes you to insanity, certain extremes that you probably wouldn't go to if you didn't love that person. So it's very important to understand, or for the healthiness of your relationship, it's important to understand your partner's triggers, what triggers your partner, so that you all can coexist and make a happy life. Like for me personally, I have a kid and I'm with the mother of my child. So, and that's what I want. I want a family. So I make it a priority to understand her mental for the greater good of our relationship. But sometimes it puts you in a bind when you're not being aware or self-aware. You feel what I'm saying? Aware of my mental as well as hers. So it brings you to so many ups and downs. But like I said, you want that healthy relationship, then you need to understand your partner's mental setup. So,
I think it's safe to say all of us up here have been in relationships, or in relationships. So I would love to hear from you all as well about your thoughts on mental health and relationships. I'm gonna go last because listen, I got a testimony, y'all. I got a testimony. But Helena, Trent, do either one of y'all wanna jump into this topic?
Okay, I'll take it. So I think when it comes to mental health and relationships, I think it's really important to understand your partner, understand the boundaries that you've set within the relationship. I always say questions are more important than answers. And the reason is because if you ask the right questions, you get the right answers. But if you ask the wrong questions, you can get the wrong answers. And so in relationships, you really have to take the time to get to know your partner, their likes, their wants, their dislikes, so that you know how they're moving at some point. And from a mental health standpoint, you can see their symptoms. You can see the signs that they have, if they're depressed or if they have anxiety or things like that. Me and my fiance, we're constantly having mental health conversations because it's something that I believe in and he believes in as well. So I may check in with him and ask him how he's feeling today. He may say, I'm not feeling too good. I'm feeling kind of down. I may say, well, what do those feelings look like? Can you tell me what you're feeling? And not so more so I can counsel him, but more so I can be his support system, so I can be his help. And I think that's what people lack in relationships, is being a support, because sometimes we want to make it about us, and sometimes it's not about us. It's not really 50-50 at all. It's 100 and 100, and some days it might be 70-30, and you have to be okay with that because you signed up for that, like you said. Yeah.
Committed to it.
Absolutely.
I think you actually hit on some great points. I think for me, I realized with the mental health situation is looking at some of their childhood traumas and how that plays a part in the mental health as well too. For example, I've been through a lot as a child myself, and I was like, wow, let me be honest and transparent with my partner. These are the traumas that I've been through as a child and how that affect my mental health. It took me a while. I'm still in the work in progress, but those little boundaries, those little childhood traumas definitely plays the part in it. I think the biggest thing, we have to acknowledge it, be an advocate for our partner with those traumas and whatnot, and be in support. Hey, I will go with you to therapy if I need to. I will be able to support you. It's okay. We're going to get through this together. That has been really my biggest thing. Still work in progress because I'm dealing with my own demons as well too. But I think the biggest thing is having someone to be okay with the mental health issues, to be okay with the trauma, to be okay with everything that's going on in your life.
But in order to be okay, you also have to have a safe space to do that, to be okay in. Some people don't have a relationship where it's a safe space and they can actually do that. So they can't communicate effectively to their partner because they don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable with them.
And see, that's the point that I'm at now, because my significant other, she deals with a lot more mental things than I do on a serious level. So I have to understand day by day, asking how you are mentally, asking how you are here, how you are there, how you feel about this. You have to be there. You have to be there.
Present. I always say you have to be present. And I don't think communication is key. People say it all the time, but I think comprehension is key. Because once you comprehend, you need me to say that again? You need to run it back? We need to run it back? We need to run it back.
Run that back.
Yeah.
Run that.
Exactly. Rewind, right? It's a real thing. Communication is not key. Comprehension is key. Because if I don't understand what you are telling, what you think you are communicating to me, we cannot effectively talk about it. And so it came to me the other day when I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, comprehension is key, but get this. Once you comprehend, it's a choice in how you move and understanding. And so I don't think everybody realizes that it's a right or wrong after you can comprehend it, right? Because now I know, right? Now I know. So now what am I going to do with it? Am I going to actively meet you where you are with the mental health need that you have? Or I'm going to choose to be selfish? So comprehension is key.
I struggle with that. I'm gonna be honest. I've struggled with that. Just dating in general. I've learned that, damn, I fucked up. And then I ought to be with my partner and tell them that I fucked up. Hey, I'm lacking with my communication skills. Hey, I'm just struggling. I need your support. I'm hurting. I'm dying inside. So to be there, to know and be vulnerable, like you mentioned, about how I'm feeling, and to be okay with that and be able to communicate and be able to comprehend that and be able to move forward with that.
That's definitely the disconnect in a lot of relationships, I feel like.
100%. And lack of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Ooh, listen, that EQ, people think that it's just about IQ. It's about that EQ.
Absolutely not.
It's about that EQ. And it's about, for you, also understanding, Helena, you said it, psychological safety is very important in a relationship. I can be with you and feel like I love everything about you, but there's this one piece of me that feels like I can't come to you with the shit that I'm going through.
Absolutely.
And
that's a huge piece.
That's a huge piece, because especially when we talk about Black men, whether it's heterosexual Black men or homosexual Black men, vulnerability, is a journey for us. And I don't even think some even think of it as a journey, because they don't even think about having vulnerability. And so I've been with men in the past to where, you know, they don't want to cry. They don't want to talk about their emotions. I'm fine. Nigga, you're not fine. Right. I know you're not fine. Obviously you're not fine. Yeah. And I see it. And so I also think that when we talk about mental health in relationships, people need to understand, or there should be an understanding of the conversation between compromise versus collaboration. And when you said it's not 50-50, it's 100-100, that resonated with me, because I want you to be as whole of a person as you can be when we come to this. I need to be as whole of a person as I can be, and therefore we should come with 100-100. And if I compromise or you compromise, that means you're losing something or I'm losing something. And that could be detrimental to our mental health. So let's compromise and have these conversations to get to that. You said comprehension. I wrote it down, y'all. I wrote it down. I'm gonna put this on the BlaQberry View Instagram later. I'm gonna cite my source from Masara, but it was so good. So and then after that, there's still that right and wrong of what you can do after that. So
it is. But you said something significant that stood out to me is the idea of men not being vulnerable, Black men in particular. And I think that has to come with how Black men are raised, right? Black men are raised to keep their head down, take care of their family, trust God, trust the process, and bottle their emotions.
And let me ask you this. Let me offer in a little.
Go ahead. I'll take it.
So is it that we're raised or is it that we're conditioned?
Ooh, I would more say conditioned. Absolutely. I don't disagree with that at all. Yeah. Because in order to be raised, the father has to be present. And a lot of times he's not. So, and there's no shade, but it's the honest truth that in order to be a present father, like you're saying, I'm with the mother and my child choose to be present. Now you are a father. Now fatherhood is taking place, right? You are raising a child. You are not conditioning them to be a certain way. And so I think more than that, society conditions Black men to be a certain way. And now society has made Black men fearful, right? You drive around in your car, you're afraid to get pulled over if you're in Highland Park because you're not sure what's going to happen in that area. And so I think things like that are very real. My fiance himself has experienced it, being pulled over by a cop, being misjudged, and being, in the whole situation escalated quickly. As a Black woman, I have compassion fatigue because of that, right? I have compassion fatigue for my brothers because they're constantly going through something, whether it's LGBTQ or whether it's heterosexual. It does not matter. It's the idea that I worry about you regardless.
Ooh. Shit. Shit. I mean, we can't go to a commercial because we still got some more shit to talk about. But I'm in my feelings when she said that. Because you listen, oh my God.
It's so good because actually I went to a Just Hill Bro tour and I had an amazing time. And I felt comfortable. Like I was tearing up on the side. I was really tearing because it was really some in-depth conversations about just my mental health and learning how to cope with those things and how finding coping mechanisms to be a better person. After I left from the tour, I cried. I just cried on the way home because I think, wow, this is the space that I need. This is what I need. I need more Black men in my life. I need the support system because I didn't really have that growing up.
And I also think, so Trent, this is going to be something you can identify with. Because based off of something you just said, y'all are also welcome to please provide your feedback. In the Black gay community, there's also difficulty. Well, actually, no, Devontae, we could talk about this too. Okay. So I think this is versatile either way. So in the Black gay community, there's a stigma of attaching ourselves to each other because we feel like there's a sexual element. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this nigga being nice to me, he just want to fuck. And that's not, but that's what it is, bro. And it's really like it's so hard for Black gay men to make genuine friendships because people either think it's based out of I want you or I want something you have, or I need to have survival sex because I am displaced in terms of home. I have food insecurity. I need something, and so the only thing I have to offer is my body. I would say, and I can only speak from this aspect from Devontae and I's relationship as a gay Black man and a heterosexual Black man. There's still that stigma there that exists with some heterosexual Black men too. Like, oh, this nigga just want to be close to me because he trying to fuck. He trying to holler. And he trying to holler at me. And I have never in my life tried to holler at Devontae. This is my little brother. So, but I think that it goes just further into that conditioning for Black men that we have to be these hyper-vigilant, hyper-masculine individuals. And what I want our viewers and just anybody else to understand is that there's this intersectionality that exists with all of us. Being a Black man, being a Black person, being a Black woman, it's not a monolithic experience.
No, but I will say that, being a clinician and working with all populations, that trauma bonding is a real thing that people get with people based on where they are in their life and in their life at their time. They may be homeless, they may be displaced, they may be experiencing a lot of trauma. So someone will take them in. There's always the Captain Save-A-Hoe. You take somebody in, you take care of them, you dust them off, little bird, you get them on their feet, now they think they something. Is that personal? No, I don't think so. But
It's personal for me, shit.
Right.
I've done that. I've had that in my life, in my 20s.
You help them out, you get them together, but there's the idea that you originally came together because both of you had some type of trauma that you were bonding on. And what I've seen is people elevate and evolve, and they are no longer in that trauma place. And the person that was once in that trauma with them does not understand that because they haven't done the work to come out of the trauma. So in the community, that is what I've seen a lot of. There's a lot of trauma bonding based on sexual exploitation. Yeah.
So I want to pivot to another, I will say, form of exploitation. I may have some folks who want to come pull up and fight me after I say that, but I mean, pull up, because you ain't gonna get far. But when we talk about exploitation, I want to pivot to mental health and religion, and how I believe that religious aspects have also conditioned us and exploited us into having mental health concerns. And so, Trent, I want to start with you on this subject and get your thoughts.
So it's definitely an experience. I think for just Black and brown families and households, we have conditioned our children to just pray about it. Don't go see nobody. But I realized with my experience, I had to realize that I have to talk to somebody in the flesh. I have to be able to talk to someone and be able to know, like, hey, I need somebody to talk to. Hey, I need somebody to talk, not just God, but somebody physically there, and learn, like, hey, I need the support. I need everyone to be there to support me no matter what. It has been a journey. I realize that I'm still learning how to do that because I still believe in God. I still want to pray, but also I just need somebody to cry out and vent to and be able to, like, hey, I have someone. I have someone that needs me. I have someone that's going to be there for me.
Yes. Like, Mom, I'm sorry if you're watching this. And when I come to you with my problems, do not just tell me to pray about it. I don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Lord. But I you know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear that. I need something, like he said, something physical, you know what I'm saying? Something concrete, you know what I'm saying? So.
Absolutely. I think that the whole idea of just pray about it, it just comes from the idea that that's all our ancestors had. They didn't have mental health therapists. They didn't have outlets. They didn't have people they could talk to. They had Master. And Master was not about to help you through anything. And so it's the idea that religion and faith was the thing that got our ancestors through. And so I think our families were conditioned to operate in that mindset. And so now, as millennials, Gen Z, and different things like this, we all understand the idea of, no, we have resources. But I always tell my clients, faith without works is dead. So there's something that you have to do alongside of believing and trusting, and that's go to a clinician, go to a mental health therapist, go to an LPC, go to an LCSW, go down the line, reach out to your resources, find a friend you can confide in, whatever it may be, make sure you're getting what you need to be able to get all of that out.
But it's kind of still sad in overall is that we still have to learn that our Black and brown family still always conditioned, like, hey, what we talk about in this household stays in the household, and don't want to step out and talk to someone about it because of what somebody's going to say about, oh, you going through this thing, or talk about you behind your back because you're going through this trauma or you're going through these insecurities, whatever it is.
And then, family names, right?
Ooh.
It's the idea that we are more than, we present ourselves to be, and you better not, and so it's like, if you say anything outside of this household, it's going to make us look bad.
I have a different relationship, I think, with the Black church. I've had that typical experience of being shunned and cast out and all of that. And so I work on my own personal relationship with God. I love the fact that you said that, yes, we can have prayer in church, but we also need to go see, a clinician. Like, I look at it as a toolbox. Absolutely. You can't build a house with just a hammer. You need nails. You need a tape measure. You need, your foundation. Right. And so I think that adds, all of this can add into that ability of being able to ultimately erect the edifice that is your mental health. Yeah. I think about when especially having that Black, gay, and religious conversation of how it is, you want me to pray about my mental health, but you also want to pray this spirit out of me. Oh, wait. Yeah. So what do you want me to do? Right. What I don't really know what to do. Exactly. Yeah. So the same people that's telling me to pray, my mental health concerns away are the same people who are trying to remove a spirit from me but this is who I am. And so it's like churches for the people who need help. Churches.
I think that churches could use acceptance therapy. I think that pastoral leaderships could use a dose of acceptance therapy, and it's a modality that we use, but it really teaches you how to just kind of embrace where you are, embrace the changes, embrace the journey. And I think that, in the churches, especially Black churches, we have a very Bible-based, this is it. It says this, and this. And Bible, let's be honest, it's left up to interpretation. Yeah. However, you cannot add to it and you cannot take away from it. Right. Yeah. And so I think we, just like the masters did in the past, took what we wanted from the Bible and used that against people. I think that we are still doing that in churches today to oppress the LGBTQ community as well.
And so, yes, acceptance therapy for churches and the mentality that it's supposed to be black and white. Like, it's supposed to be, again, this monolithic mentality. But I would love to hear from Devontae from the perspective of a heterosexual male, because I think that there's that ideology of monolithic behavior for heterosexual men, masculinity, and what that looks like in our community, and how that ties into your mental health.
Yes, it's almost like it's this constant pressure to be this tough guy. You know what I'm saying? Not being able to tell your brother that you love him, or not being able to be seen out in public with your homosexual brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been friends with Zach for years. In that time, I've had to educate a lot of people, a lot of heterosexual men who are just stuck in that masculinity. Like, hey man, how can you, spend so much time with Zach? Or how can you be friends with Zach? Or how can you go out to eat with Zach every so often? You know what I'm saying? Because he's a person. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
and that's my nigga.
You know what I'm saying? This is my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can take that cape off. You can take that clothes off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I love
that. I think that it has to tie into androgynous behaviors. I think that, every man has the masculinity, but they also have the femininity as well. I think as a father, you have to learn how to tap into the femininity so that you can be present for your daughter, so that she knows it's not always strength, coming forward. And then there's the idea of just the masculinity, right? It has to present itself sometimes, even when you want to be the girls, yes, okay? Yes. But it has its place, right? It has its place. So I think that just for Black men in general, it's a struggle to show up authentically, because there's an expectation that you should only be one way.
So, Devontae, thank you for that perspective. It reminds me of a story that one of our frat brothers told me once upon a time about him having daughters and sons. He had 6 kids, and he said having daughters made him a better father to his sons, and having sons made him a better father to his daughters, because of the fact that his daughters taught him like emotion and having a softer side, and therefore he was able to have that empathy with his sons. And having sons taught him how to help his daughters look out for what to watch out for in the world and in society. And so that androgynous spirit, that duality that you speak of, I think is very important because of the fact that it exists inside all of us. We just have to either give ourselves the permission to unlock it, or have situations that flick that switch for us. But Trent, I know you had something that you wanted to add to this.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of great things. But one thing I want to highlight is raising daughters as a father. Once they being emotional, being vulnerable with their daughters see that as a child, like, hey, my dad was like this. It's okay to date somebody that's being vulnerable, and it's okay to be someone that's emotional and be, shut down and let the person lead the household. But overall, I think one thing fathers need to know is that, hey, it's okay. It's okay to raise a daughter to be emotional. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have the daughter date somebody that's vulnerable and be able to be emotional with that person.
And so before we close this out, I know that all of these topics that we have brought up, we have talked about, they can manifest themselves in different ways. Anxiety, social disorders, PTSD. So our resident expert, Helena, I would love for you to talk to us about just those different types of, like, I guess, I don't even know what to call them, mental disorders, like, and how they manifest in terms of mental health. Like, I'm very transparent about the fact that I live with generalized anxiety disorder and depression, and I know how generalized anxiety disorder shows up in my life, like anxiety attacks, all of that. But for our viewers who may not know or may experience it and don't know what to the name to put towards it, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So you mentioned anxiety, so I'll start with anxiety. So the clinical definition for anxiety is excessive worry or fear in everyday situations, which we all have to a degree. You could be taking a test, right? You're a little bit anxious. You could be going on a first date and you could be a little bit anxious. So those are normal anxiety patterns. But what you have, what we call generalized anxiety, is one of the types. That is the excessive worry or fear that leads longer than 6 months, as well as it shows up as a panic attack, or it may show up as excessive worry about a situation that doesn't require it. And sometimes what happens is we like to call it the rehearsal. So a person rehearses the play-by-play of emotions, and over time it leads to panic. And the interesting thing is panic disorder is actually a disorder in and of itself. So it's not generalized anxiety.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
What you just said makes so much sense, because I went on an interview not too long ago, and they asked me a question, you know what I'm saying? They asked me a second question from what I can remember. And when they asked me the third question, I forgot what the third question was. I froze.
Yeah.
And it was a phone call. It was a phone interview. And I just said, I don't know, I can't do this. I don't know. I don't remember what I said, something that made me get off the phone with them, but I had to hang up. And that was like my first, I didn't know what it was, anxiety attack. You know what I'm saying? That was my first anxiety attack.
So the interesting thing, what you just said, the example actually in and of itself has its own disorder, which is selective mutism.
Man, it's because I rehearsed too, though. I was rehearsing before the phone call. I'm like, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
They're going to ask me this, I'm going to say this. Yeah,
my daughter has it. So selective mutism is when you get so anxious that you have no words. You get so anxious that when you go into an environment, you stop talking, you don't communicate. That's selective mutism. However, when you go back into your normal environments, what's up, man? Like, you're normal, you're talking like how you normally do. So that's selective mutism with a bit of anxiousness as well.
Come see him. Come see him.
So anxiety, the interesting thing, it resonates. You have your social anxiety. That's when you don't want to go places, you don't want to go around people, into open environments. Usually it's because of fear of helplessness or embarrassment. It's typically why people don't go into social environments. This could be like the grocery store. Speaking of, the situation with the Buffalo mass shooting, those particular people who survived may now have social anxiety significantly because now they may fear going into grocery stores and things like that. And so, you teach them coping skills on how to manage that.
You brought a good, interesting point. Them not being able to go in the grocery store, but also too, once they see someone that's going through their trauma in their household, it's kind of fear for them to go out as well too. Yes. They mimic what the experience of someone that they love or care for.
So I will say this, and this is going to be another episode for another time. However, do not be afraid to seek out the help of medication as well. I take sertraline. It's a form of Zoloft, and that helps me with my generalized anxiety disorder. So, Helena, thank you for just again peppering us with knowledge. So we're gonna take a break, and BlaQberries, we'll be right back with tips and dip. And dare I say it, this is going to be the best tips and dip of all of our episodes. So come back. Welcome back, BlaQberries. So we have our final segment of this episode, and this has been an amazing conversation. And I will also say, a little teaser for y'all, this won't be the last. Ooh, what do we mean by that? So, diving into tips and dip. Normally, this is my segment. However, it's not about me. It's about our beautiful, wonderful panelists. And so today, actually, Helena will be giving us the tips and the dip. And so for those who don't know, tips and dip is an opportunity to provide a tip or 3 or 5 to our viewers, kind of like a final closing out, and then we dip, like we literally leave. So that's why it's called tips and dip. So Helena, what tips do you have for our viewers and for us? Because we are learning just like our viewers are. So we'll just pivot it into you.
Let's talk about it. So I did want to bring up one last point because I know that we've all been dealing with, just being Black, right? This is the BlaQberry View. So I wanted to bring up vicarious trauma and secondary traumatic stress. So these are what we call indirect exposure to trauma. And what happens is when we are exposed to images or people or things that have happened from a secondary standpoint, just like the Buffalo mass shooting, all of us were impacted in some way. We're tired, we're looking at it and saying not again. Yeah. And so this is a way that we all become hyper aroused. And so some tips on working with that is, for one, doing some non-traumatic activities. Going to go brunch, going to go eat, going to go work out, going to go find something to do, going to go to a festival or things like that, we highly recommend. The reason is because this takes your mind off of what's actually going on. Another tip that we recommend is detaching yourself from any social media outlet, any outlet where you have to be exposed to it consistently. And I tell people social media detox are necessary. I do them at least once every 2 months, maybe just for a week. But it's the idea that comparison is the thief of joy. Ooh. So when you're on social media, you're constantly looking at things and you're saying, oh, I should be like this. Oh, I should be like this. And really, you're welcoming that vicarious trauma to come back into your life, right? Because, baby, you may be in Barbados, but I don't know what it took for you to get there, right? And so I don't know what it took for your life to get to a place where you can enjoy vacations every week. But that's not mine, right? I live for it. Another tip is volunteering. People neglect volunteering, but it's the idea that volunteering for those who feel helpless actually gives you joy. It actually gives you life. It actually gives you something to look forward to when you volunteer in different settings. And I usually tell people volunteer in the settings that are most compassionate to your heart. And so if you love kids, maybe going back to a children's hospital or something like that to volunteer your time is really important when you are dealing just with anything in life. Box breathing. We teach box breathing. It's just a 4-square box, and we teach you how to take deep breaths in and then deep breaths out. And usually we'll tell you hold for 3 seconds and then release for 4 seconds. And this is just a routine that you can do sitting in your home, sitting in your car. When you start to feel anxious, you can use these techniques as well. And then lastly, seek help. A lot of people don't recognize how important it is to seek out the help that you need from mental health clinicians to friends, but seek help. I'm on Instagram as _LPC therapist. So if you are looking for a therapist, I am taking clients. And Better You Counseling is also my practice. And so if that's a resource, I have a ton more resources. So at the end, you guys will get those as well. And if you cannot afford therapy, Boris Loris Henson Foundation is a foundation that you can look up for men of color, women of color. You don't have to be Black, but you have to be of color. Hello. And you'll go to that website and you can actually get some services from us for free because they actually cover the cost. So those are my tips and my dips.
Shit, I don't really know what to add after that. I mean,
That was everything.
she really could have had the show by herself. So, wow. So, closing thoughts, final thoughts from y'all as we wrap this episode up. So, I'm going to start with Devontae.
After this conversation, I've learned a lot, you know, and I did start my mental health journey not too long ago, this year really, but this just inspired me on and off too, but this just inspired me to be more consistent. So
This is only the beginning, my mental health journey. I think now is what I need to do for myself in order to be a better person. I'm still struggling. I'm still a work in progress, but I know I will get to the finish line.
Hello. All right. Helena?
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Love on a clinician that you like.
It's not just because she's my soror. But that's where it started. Hold on now. First fam, what? Y'all ain't even related, bro. Tried it. And my final thought is, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to y'all for saying yes. I'm grateful for y'all to either bring your expertise or bring your experiences to our audience. And I'm grateful for you all who will be watching this episode, and hopefully you will get something out of this. As I said, I'm very transparent about my mental health journey. It almost literally took me out in 2017. Like the place that I went to was unrecognizable by those who loved me and saw me. Devontae was there when he saw me at my lowest, and a lot of folks saw me at my lowest. And look at me now. I'm not one right. I'm not 100%. However, I'm not at a deficit either. So thank you all. Thank you, Blackberries. We have now indoctrinated 3 new Blackberries. So thank y'all for watching. Please, at the end of this episode or during any time of the episode, look at the information below in the description on YouTube to find any mental health resources. We will have, obviously, Helena up there. We have a few other amazing therapists and other resources for you all because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So thank y'all. See y'all next time.